You can't be serious. Oh, go on. But I'll look stupid. Yes, but we all will. But now look, just because you are the only bloke working in our office is no excuse. The room has decided the charity fancy dress is to be street Trinians. Don't worry, it's only a bit of fun. I've got the clothes from when Mary and I did it a couple of years ago. You're about the same size as us. Go on, you'll enjoy it. Do I have a choice? No. Okay then, be gentle with me. I will. Now it's Kitty's day on Friday, so come around on Wednesday so I can make sure everything fits. Fits? Yes, silly. Shoes, clothes, etc. What's the etc.? Wait and see. I'm going to regret this. You'll be fine. Tell your mum you're coming for tea at my house. You don't have to tell her why. Wednesday at work. You okay for tonight? I can hardly wait. Good, enthusiasm, that's a good start. Lighten up, it'll be fine. One thing, don't bring your car on Friday, we're having a booze up afterwards. I think I'll need a drink. Quite possibly, but it's usually any excuse. Ha ha. Wednesday after work. Okay, let's have a look at you. Get upstairs and get your kit off. Yes, oh mistress. Come on, we've not got a lot of time. He stood before her wearing only his underpants. A bit hairy, but we can fix that. Slip the gym slip on. He slipped the traditional English uniform over his head and she buttoned up the sides and shoulder straps. That's very good, with a bit of padding in the chest area it'll be perfect. Just try these shoes on for now. She handed him the black stiletto shoes with 2-inch heel. They're just a little tight and I'm sure I'm going to fall over. I think they'll be okay, you're not used to the shape, balance will come with a little practice. Now slip them off again and come through to the bathroom. She stood him in the shower and sprayed a foul-smelling cream onto his arms, legs and chest. Now stay there for about 10 minutes, then shower it off. I'll be back with a towel and robe for you. What is this stuff? Hair remover, silly. You want to do this properly, don't you? I wasn't sure I wanted to do it at all. Aw, well, can't turn back now. He showered after the appointed time and was shocked to see his body hair flushing away. His legs felt strange, soft, sensual almost. She came back with a toweling robe, which he gladly covered himself with, now discarding his soaking underwear. Dry yourself off and then come back to my room. He noticed that she was now wearing the same uniform under a wrap-over robe, which made him feel a bit better. He couldn't say why, but perhaps she was trying to set him at ease. I think we'd better start with covering you up. These black control panties will keep everything in. I believe you can tuck everything back between your legs, if you get my drift. Okay, turn away, I'll see what I can do. He stood before her wearing just the panties, presenting a smooth front. That's good, can't see a thing. Now for the matching bra, hold your hands out. She fastened the bra and filled the cups with padding. He caught a glimpse in the mirror. He saw a girl in black underwear with her hair wet from the shower. He was beginning to think they could pull this off and felt an excited thrill go through his body. Now the secret is to wear nearly black gloss tights first, then put black fishnet stockings on top. So put these on now. With her assistance he slid the tights up his legs. The fine material on his newly smooth legs sent further waves of pleasure through him. She then attached a black suspender belt, rolled the stockings onto his leg and clipped them to the suspenders. The fishnets did not fit as tightly as the tights, but it was an unusual feeling as the stocking and suspenders tugged slightly each time he moved. She looked on approvingly, then handed him first the white blouse and then the gym slip dress. It barely covered his stocking tops, but that's the appeal. She was right, the tights left him feeling covered and secure amidst the confusing feelings of uncertainty and pleasure. Now I'll just comb and dry your hair, we'll put it into bunches for now. For now? Yes, I'll need Mum to do the plaits, I could never get it right. Your mother? Yes, she's downstairs now. Once I've done your makeup we'll go down for a cuppa. But your mother, what will she think of me? Oh, she thinks you're very brave. She can't wait to see what you look like." With that, she sat him down. First she painted his nails and then she made up his face. She used light colors, just a little foundation, eyeshadow, and some pink lipstick. "Now pop the shoes back on and then you can see yourself." He slipped on the shoes, the hosiery seemed to allow them to fit better. He wobbled a bit then steadied himself and turned to face the mirror. She was standing beside him, dressed exactly the same. He could see he wasn't perfect, but at first glance there wasn't much between them. They could have been sisters. He wobbled a bit more with shock. "I think you'll do very nicely, you make a lovely girl." "I think you're right, I am a bit shocked at how I look and how these clothes feel." "Good on you, let's get your hair done." They tottered down the stairs. He found it difficult, firstly the high heels and then not being able to see past the faux breasts. She helped him by going down first. He held onto her shoulders. He was concentrating so hard on the stairs he forgot to worry about what he was wearing, so it took a moment for reality to strike as her mother met them in the hall. "Karen, you've done a lovely job. I thought he would come out well." "How do you feel, Mike?" It's not as bad as I thought, Mrs. Peters. You don't mind me got up like this?" "Of course not, dear. It's just a bit of fun for charity, although I'd say you do make a lovely girl. It seems a shame that boys can't make themselves pretty and enjoy the clothes we girls wear." "Anyway, sit down, I'll plait your hair first. Karen can put the ribbons in while I'm doing hers." They sat as requested. Karen tied white ribbon bows onto the ends of his plaits, then her own. "Now let's look at you both." She had them stand together, then got out her camera and had them strike various poses. "You look just like sisters. You'll be a real hit tomorrow. Sit yourselves down and we'll have a cup of tea. Are you still comfortable with this, Mark?" "It's getting better. I'm ashamed to admit I like the feel of these clothes, and I love the illusion." "You don't think that's wrong?" "Absolutely not. We girls love to wear them, don't we, Karen?" "Yes, Mum, like you said, perhaps all boys should get a chance to try this. I think Mark looks lovely and absolutely convincing." "If I didn't know, I wouldn't know." They sat down again and had their cup of tea. They chatted, and the time flew by. They planned for Karen's mum to go out and get fish and chips. Her father wasn't expected back until late evening and Mark could change back before then. Then the front door opened. "Hello everyone, I'm home early." "Well, what have we here? Is this another of your fancy dress do's, Karen? And who's your friend?" "They were just trying on costumes for tomorrow's charity day at work, dear. This is Karen's workmate Sally. She's staying for tea tonight. We were just about to get some chips. Do you want some?" "Pleased to meet you, Sally. My word, you two look so similar in those get-ups. I had to think which one was my little girl." "Nice to meet you, Mr. Peters," replied Mark in a hushed and slightly shocked voice. "And nice to meet you too. Don't worry about tea, Mother. I'm home early because my pal Jeff Wilkes has got us complimentary tickets to the opening of that new restaurant Alberto's. Luckily I got 4 so we can all go. I think these young ladies may wish to change first, of course." 7 o'clock, is that okay?" "Oh Dad, that's nice. We haven't had a meal out for a while. Come on, Sally, I can lend you some things." She grabbed Mark by the arm and led him, still stunned, upstairs. "I can't believe your mother did that. I wasn't expecting it." "I think she actually forgot you were a boy underneath and had to come up with an explanation." "Take it as a compliment." "Some compliment. I look like a girl." "But you do, dressed as you are. You're not a girly boy, but dressed up you are quite convincing. Let's just have some fun with it." "Okay, but if I'm uncomfortable you get me out of there fast." "Of course I don't want to upset you. You've done everything I've asked already. Enjoy." "So what are we going to wear now?" "I'll think of something, but first let's get these plates out." Downstairs Mr. and Mrs. Peters were sat with another cup of tea. "I'll tell you, Mother, that girl Sally, she's a spit for our Karen. People would think they were sisters. Very pretty girls, the both of them. They'll charm Jeff's 2 lads for sure. I'm glad Karen's got a pal with her. The 4 youngsters can sit together." Jeff's lads are going, spluttered Mrs. Peters. Oh, what have I done? Shall I tell him? No, he's so pleased with his arrangements, I don't want to spoil it. What can go wrong? It's only a meal. Oh yes, he's taking his too. I'm quite looking forward to this. The chef comes highly rated. Okay, take the uniform stuff and the stockings off. I've got an idea. You're in charge. Now swap that bra for this strapless one. She fastened the wired strapless bra around his chest and adjusted its position, then she refilled the cups with padding, adding a final touch of a bead to simulate the nipple. She then handed him what he thought was a black polo neck sweater, but turned out to be a body with see-through material like pantyhose for the arms and upper panel above the breasts, and the entire back panel to the waist, although he couldn't see that. Then we just clipped the poppers down below. She finished him off with a black suede miniskirt. Now turn away while I get dressed. Huh. It was okay for you to look. There is a difference. My boobs are real. Sally. Spoil sport. Now I think we'll vamp up your makeup to suit your new look. She painted his nails a deep red, then cleaned off the more subtle makeup from earlier. In its place a lipstick to match the nails and more dramatic colors on his eyelids. She then completed her own in a very similar fashion. In fact, she had dressed almost identically, just the colors were different. She then brushed out their hair, put a little curl with some tongs and a dab of hairspray. Finally a spritz of perfume, some clip-on earrings and a gold chain necklace. Now let's look, sister. He had been surprised by the success of the school uniform, but he was even more unnerved by this latest incarnation. The body showed off his fake body. If you looked you could see the nipple points. His legs looked marvelous. He was standing better in the heels. He looked all girl, they both did. Her father was going to have a fit, although not as much as if he knew what was really going on. Before he could think of a way out, Karen's parents were calling them to come down. A taxi was ordered. Karen passed him a light jacket, not much longer than the skirt, and picked up a similar one for herself. A small shoulder purse completed the look. As they descended the stairs, Karen's father Wolf whistled. Well, that's 3 beautiful ladies escorting me tonight. Sally smiled bashfully and thought that was a nice touch for his wife, who had raised eyebrows looking at her daughter and friend. You girls look very beautiful tonight, just watch out for the boys. Karen laughed out loud, Sally a bit more nervously. I did a good job then, mother. Yes, very nice, just be sensible, dear. The taxi arrived. Another shock for Mark now. Sally. Out into the fortunately dark night, the wind whistling around his legs. Shockingly exciting and frightening at the same time. The cab was a FX4 black cab. The 3 ladies sat in the back and Mr. Peters on the jump seat. He had to keep his knees tight together to maintain modesty as they sat down into the soft armchair of a seat. The cab rattled off. Nobody had seen anything wrong or been bothered by this fake girl. Karen's father appeared completely taken in fact he was having trouble not staring at the 2 sexy girls in front of him. Sally began to relax and enjoy it. The clothes felt so good, enveloping his freshly smooth skin, and the freedom of movement in the short skirt and light footwear was a revelation. He could get to like this. The restaurant. Sally was shaken from the content when they had to get out and go into the restaurant. The strange feeling of the shoes and the way they made your posture alter, the wind whistling around her legs. Karen linked arms and they climbed the steps to the reception. It was another new experience to have the door held open and the reception staff be so attentive. She could feel the male staff looking her over, especially when they handed in the cover of their coats. She felt very exposed in the lightweight body-hugging clothing and showing lots of leg. And what would you ladies like to drink? Asked Karen's father. We'll have a dry white wine, please, replied Karen. That saved him. A pint of bitter would have been the normal order. I know what you would normally have, she whispered, smiling. They picked their food, Karen reminding Sally that a ladylike selection and not a mega-mixed grill would be the thing to go for. It appears Jeff and family are already here, let's go through. Karen's father led the way again, holding the doors and carrying the drinks for the ladies. In the restaurant, at a large round table, were the Wilkes family, and Karen and Sally's first realization that there would be the two young men with Mr. and Mrs. Wilkes. The boys, Tom 16 and Gary 18, had been competing when they thought that only Karen would be coming. Now they were in heaven. One girl each and both gorgeous, they immediately stood up to welcome the newcomers and maneuvered themselves to sit beside the girls. Karen and Mark were 18, so the age ranges were compatible. Sally looked in panic towards Karen. This was pushing the limits of what she was prepared to accept, but there seemed no way out. Karen whispered, "If you aren't happy at any time, just say you're going to the toilet. I'll come with you." Sally settled down and made polite conversation. The boys, particularly with their parents present, were on best behavior, and when the food arrived the atmosphere was jovial and relaxed. Karen and Sally exchanged glances as the boys' confidence grew, and each appeared to concentrate on their girl. Sally had Gary's full attention, and as the night progressed she noticed the way he looked at her body, and the number of times he began to make contact accidentally increased. She had found that being a girl and behaving as expected of a late teens female was quite comfortable. As such, she didn't initially recoil when she felt Gary's hand on her leg. It was as his hand began to creep upwards that she calmly placed her hand on his and gently pushed it away, coupled with a slightly admonishing look in Gary's direction. He withdrew but took the gentle rejection as a sign that all was not lost. He showed this by accidentally touching her glossy lycra-clad thigh as many times as he could. Sally could not understand it, but did not feel the need to reject this affection. The attention made her feel more of a woman and confirmed her role and her success in the deception. The meal, and a very fine meal at that, was over, and the party were invited to take coffee or liqueurs in the bar. As they passed the floodlit patio, the boys suggested getting some fresh air. Karen at this time had all of her attention on Tom, who though younger was very mature in his actions, and behaved as a perfect gentleman. Sally was a little worried that they were moving away from the protection of the group, but felt that she did not wish to make a scene. The parents gave knowing looks of acknowledgement and said don't be long. Karen and Tom were embracing as soon as the coast was clear. Gary was content to hold Sally's hand and chat as the refreshing night air enveloped them. Without a coat and considering what she was wearing, Sally soon began to feel the cold. At this point Gary saw his chance and put his arms protectively around her. Again she did not resist, just melted into the girl role as his powerful arms wrapped around her. The inevitable occurred as he drew her to him and kissed her gently on the lips. She was surprised and then again not. She let it happen and didn't reject the attention. Gary took the acceptance as a cue to go further and gently slipped his tongue between her lips. He and she felt her legs go weak for a moment as the warm feelings swept through her body, and she reciprocated, feeling his arms squeezing her tight. The moment was finally broken by Mr. Peters saying, "Drink, anyone? I think it's time to come inside." The girls stepped back pretending nothing had happened, but of course looking very guilty and slightly disheveled. "I think we need the toilet, don't you, Sally?" Yes, just what we need." They left the smiling boys who held the door for them. "You kissed him," said Karen. "What else could I do?" replied Sally. "But you didn't have to enjoy it." "I know, but dressed like this it just felt nice. I'm not that way, you know." "I'm sure you're not, but I could be forgiven for thinking differently. I'm sorry I placed you in an impossible situation, and I've embarrassed you. I didn't mean it to go this far." "It's okay. It's actually quite educational to see how men treat women from the other side." "Well, don't worry too much. I think Dad will want to get away in about half an hour. We'll see if he asks for your number." "That would be lovely. I'm sure my mom would appreciate calls for Sally." They returned to the party. The boys, eagerly awaiting their return, insisted on sitting beside their new conquests. As Karen predicted, her father made a move to leave, and when the boys suggested staying out later, he insisted that his girls were coming home now. As they returned, Karen said, "It's late, Dad. I think Sally should stay over with us tonight. We can get ready and go to work tomorrow for the charity do. If your family will be okay with that, Sally? It will be fine. I'll ring my mom from your house. Thank you very much. You've been very kind. Sally/Mark was very pleased they weren't going to drop him off at home dressed as he was. The girls went off to Karen's bedroom, which fortunately had its own ensuite. Before they undressed, Karen turned to Sally and said, "I've never done this to a girl before," took Sally in her arms and kissed her passionately. As they stood together, their bodies entwined, and the feeling of breast against breast and nylon-clad legs sent Sally to new heights. Karen maneuvered Sally to the bed and after lowering her down took the lead and climbed on top to continue her assault. Sally meekly allowed the role reversal, enjoying the abdication of power to Karen. Later, after cleaning up and undressing, Sally found herself in one of Karen's nightdresses and sharing Karen's bed. "Thanks for tonight. I do hope you weren't too embarrassed." "No, it was different, very different. I'm sure I still prefer girls." "I'm pleased to hear that." The feeling of the sheer material excited them both, and they spent the night rediscovering Mark's masculine side. The next day, they awoke in each other's arms as Karen's mother knocked on the door. "Come on, you two. Father's gone to work now. You need to start getting ready. Come and get your breakfast." Karen handed Mark a dressing gown. This left him with a strange feeling. He was in a limbo between the male and female. He was comfortable as either one or the other, but not as an obvious boy in a dress as he felt now. "I would rather we get dressed first," said Mark, and he explained his feelings to Karen. "Especially after my night wholly immersed in the female experience, I don't want to feel incomplete." "That's okay. We've gone far further than I had envisaged. All this must be quite tough on you. Do you want to quit now?" "No, I'm looking forward to it. There is no threat. Even if I'm found out at work, it's all for fun. It will be interesting in the cold light of day to see how many we can fool. I'm proud of you. I didn't look after you very well last night. I promise to do better today." Mark felt better now, and after a close shave he re-entered the world of femininity and they recreated Sally. Again, the feel of the clothes convinced Mark this would not be the last time he did this. They made their way downstairs. "Good morning, March. Sorry, I see you're Sally already. Sleep well?" She had a sly look in her eyes. "Very well, thank you," Sally responded with a smile. They quietly ate a light breakfast. "I think you two were quite a hit with Jeff's boys last night. Tom asked if I knew your number, Sally, but I said I wasn't sure and that he should have asked you himself. I don't know what you two are planning, but I think Karen should let him know Sally was only here for the weekend." "I think you're right, Mum. It was just a bit of fun. I didn't mean to place Sally in that position in the first place. Anyway, I don't want to share her, or her alter ego." "No, I thought not." Mrs. Peters smiled. "But last night was a one-off. I won't deceive your father. He likes a joke, but having his daughter share her bed under his nose would be a bit much. I accept I was partly to blame for creating the situation." "Yes, Mum, understood." "Okay, Sally?" Yes, sorry, I was miles away." She was remembering the conflicting feelings from the previous evening. The guilt, then pleasure felt while dressed as a girl with a boy, then the guilt-free pleasure of his night with Karen. As she moved, the clothes reminded her that she was once again Sally, and she loved it. Once again Mrs. Peters plaited their hair and checked their makeup. Now for Sally's next test, going out in daylight and going into work dressed like this. "I'm sorry, Karen, but I can't drive you in today, but I can pick you up. I don't want you to drive as I'm sure you'll be having a drink later. Just call when you want to come home." "Thanks, Mum." That meant they were going on the bus. Fortunately for Sally, Karen had a couple of gabardine Macs which did offer some protection. So it was that they set off, heels clicking on the pavement, for the short walk to the bus stop. Also waiting were a group of real schoolgirls who looked at the faux schoolies with disgust, as if they couldn't understand why anyone would want to wear the uniform they were desperately waiting to discard. But there was no hint of discovering Sally's true identity. The girls' bus soon came and they were ogled intently by the driver, which they both now enjoyed immensely. "See, I told you no one would know." "Well, I think that was confirmed by the boys' actions last night, but it's just different in the harsh light of day. I'm amazed how easy it has been." They arrived in town close to the office block of international traders. They were glad to see that there were quite a few other staff dressed up. Not every department was taking part, but a group of spacemen and vampires made a break from the usual staff uniforms and power suits usually of display. They both made to show their security passes to the guard, but he waved them through. "How am I going to check anyone's identity today?" he said. There were normally 30 staff in their room. They worked at PC terminals connected with headsets to deal with calls. About 10 girls were already there and online, so they couldn't greet the new arrivals, although more than one had a puzzled look trying to identify both of them. "Let's see how long it is before anyone notices. Just sit at a desk and start working. They'll guess eventually, but let's make them work at it." The advantage they had was that it was a hot desk environment, so you couldn't be identified from where you sat. The supervisor had come dressed as a public school teacher, complete with gown, hat, and a cane. She was busy when they arrived, but also gave them a quizzical look. They were both soon online, and the demands of the job meant that Sally began to forget what she was wearing. Only when she saw her nails and moved on the chair was she reminded. They worked away for half an hour before everyone was in. All of the girls were under 25 years old, and it was as if males died and gone to heaven dreamland. Everyone was glancing around to see what the others were wearing, and eventually the supervisor came across to Sally with a big smile on her face. She stuck a post-it note onto her terminal. "I've had to check the logon IDs to know who you are. Brilliant disguise. Congratulations on being so brave." She returned to her terminal and sent out an email. "A lovely selection of costumes, girls, and a special welcome to our girl for a day at Terminal 12. You can start taking a coffee break. 10 minutes, I'll redirect new calls to the other office from then." That brought a steady series of looks of recognition and beaming smiles in Sally's direction. Karen was one of the first to break off, and Sally could see everyone going to her and talking about the new recruit. Once everyone was offline, the supervisor said, "I was expecting to have to give a caning to anyone who broke the dress code for today, but I don't think that will be necessary. Congratulations everyone, particularly our new girl, Sally, I believe she's called." The girls gathered around admiring each other's uniforms and asking Sally how she felt dressed up. They soon settled down with their drinks and began to forget that Sally was different. "Back to your positions, ladies," said the supervisor. "Our way of raising money is to charge other members of staff to have a look at you this morning. I'm sure that you'll get some admiring and no doubt leering looks, but take it in good part and think of the money we're raising. We'll break at 12:30 and I'll take you all to the pub for a drink." The assorted male staff came through as a steady stream throughout the rest of the morning. Sally felt that they were mentally undressing each of the girls, just as Mark would have done, and they treated her no differently. There was a great sense of achievement in taking in so many people. Just before 12:30 the supervisor was called away. Another lady came in and smiled as she saw the assembled schoolgirls for the first time. She immediately sent a message. "I'm afraid Mary has had to go home. Her child is ill. She told me what was planned, and in fact there has been a change of plan. The directors have bid £600 to have dinner and a drink with all of you in the executive restaurant, so if that's okay we'll go up once your calls have finished. They've pledged £20 for each of you, so the more the merrier." Sally was so relaxed in the role, and everyone else appeared to have forgotten who she really was, that they gathered their bags and went to the lifts to go to the top floor executive suite. Sally and Karen shared a lift with 2 other of their colleagues and 2 very bashful-looking office juniors, who were trying desperately to have look without appearing to, stood between the girls. As their floor arrived, the 2 other girls kissed one on each cheek and prompted Karen and Sally to do the same. Sally followed on an autopilot. Karen was a little bit surprised. Both boys turned bright red and fled, leaving the girls laughing behind them. The directors were waiting and were determined to get their money's worth sitting amongst the ladies while the meal was served. Karen and Sally sat beside each other. Sally's director was Jim, about 35 years old, wearing a three-piece pinstripe suit and looking every inch the up-and-coming executive. He shared small talk between Sally and the girl on the other side of him, also chatting in a very friendly way to the others opposite. It wasn't until the sweet course that she felt once again a wandering hand upon her leg. This time she couldn't believe it. He was a married man. This was a public place. Because of the surprise, she didn't immediately try to deflect the attention. By this time his hand had come to a rest on her stocking top and was kneading her upper thigh. It was only when he was asked to pass coffee cups down the table that he pulled gently away, and she realized he was probably doing it to the other girl as well. He smiled warmly in Sally's direction, having taken the lack of resistance as acceptance. She smiled weakly and blushed while looking down. People began to move about and he did not try again. They returned to their desks after an hour and several glasses of wine. The directors had lined up to give everyone a kiss on the way out. Sally could not avoid it and Jim gave her a squeeze of the hand and a quick pat on the bottom as she moved along the line. The afternoon went by quickly as they returned to their work. Just before 4, the supervisor was again called out of the room, and when she returned she sent a message saying they were going offline again. "I have been asked to get you all down to the roadshow caravan in the car park. Sorry to interrupt your day, but we can finish immediately afterwards." They went down to the caravan and were admitted 2 by 2. They didn't know what it was about until Sally and Karen went through and 2 ladies immediately began to ask for their names and measurements. Sally, still completely in part, just went along with it and bought nothing of the inquiries. As they made their way through the caravan to the exit, they were handed a sealed plastic bag with the company logo on the side and a label with their name. The supervisor told them to leave the bags back in their room and that they were going to the staff club for some drinks and to judge the charity fancy dress. Karen and Sally thought nothing of it and dropped off their bags, then went down for the social. They had a great night. Their group came second and there was a disco, plenty of food and lots of drink. Sally was not used to the cocktails and mixers that her colleagues were enjoying. Having previously been a beer drinker, he was getting a bit merry. There were a lot of girls there. The proportion was 2:1 boys. This meant that the girls were dancing together. One of the lads who'd had too much to drink shouted that they must be lessies. Karen's response was to grab Sally and plant a big kiss on her lips. "I've been wanting to do that all day, you're gorgeous." For jokes, some of the other girls joined in and soon Sally had kissed most of the girls on the section. She'd never done this as a boy. The lad who made the original remark was stunned, then the girls chased him, caught him and smothered him in kisses. He went away covered in lipstick, stunned and happy. The evening drew to a close, and as they left, their supervisor said, "Don't forget your bags. I want you all in your new things tomorrow." The remark passed most of the drunken revelers by. Karen rang her mom. It wasn't too late, and after they got home and told her of the events of the day that changed Sally back to Mark. It was then that they decided to open the mysterious bags. Karen went first. There was a complete outfit of the new corporate wear, jacket, blouses, matching skirt, even a silk scarf. Mark knew as he opened his what he would find. The supervisor's remark now ringing in his ears, "Were your new things."